What do you think life will look like 20 years from now? That was something I was really curious about.
Ideas and teachings.
And so, yes, I've done art all my life. I will always do it. But my
Section of art, social justice, and the human spirit.
That was allowing me to really express myself.
Hi, I'm Douglas Bell, and I want to welcome you to another episode of Ringing the Bell, where we are diving into the minds of artists and storytellers who use their creativity to reveal the heart of the human spirit. Today, we are welcoming a talented author who knows how to weave a mystery that keeps you hooked from start to finish. Stacy Wilder is a brilliant mind behind the Liz Adams Mystery Series, a cozy mystery collection that not only takes you on a thrilling journey, but immerses you in the vibrant charm of Charleston, South Carolina. Her debut novel, Charleston Conundrum, follows private investigator Liz Adams and her Labrador Duke as they navigate murder, secrets, and the unexpected twist that comes when your best friend's life and death are not what they seemed. With a unique blend of Southern flair, suspense, and richly drawn characters, Stacy's storytelling will keep you guessing until the final page. Stacy joins us today to talk about her writing process and her inspirations and how she crafts mysteries that leave readers wanting more. So grab your favorite drink, settle in, and get ready to meet the creator behind one of today's most intriguing, cozy mystery series. I want to welcome Stacy Wilder to Ringing the Bell. Hey, Miss Stacy.
Hey, Douglas. Thank you so much for having me. It's such a pleasure to see you. And, we've been on this author journey together.
That is so true. That is so true. We met, maybe 4 years ago? 4 years ago?
Maybe 3, yeah.
Yeah, so it's good to have you here. So how are you doing today?
Good.
Okay.
How about you?
I'm hanging in here. It's a Saturday.
Yep.
The weather's pretty nice here in Houston, despite the fact I think it's supposed to rain tomorrow. But I'm doing fine. Before we dig into your novel, Charleston Conundrum, I want to ask you about who you are and hear about your writing process. And I want to start by saying I came across a quote yesterday that said, "Don't write for money." And I want to know, what do we write for then? What do you write for?
I write for the joy of it. It is such a wonderful experience to craft a story. And once I finish that story, I feel, once it's been all the way through all the edits, and I feel so humbled to be a vessel for that story.
Okay, I like that answer.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. So tell me about your writing process. For you, where does it start?
I'm an avid journaler, so I don't know if you've ever heard of the book by Julia Cameron, Artist's Way.
Matter of fact, I think I have.
Yeah, so I've worked through that several times with other creatives. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that she recommends is every morning you journal 3 pages, which I do.
Okay.
And that's often when the ideas bubble up. So
how long have you been journaling?
Oh, wow. Since the late 90s.
Okay,
yeah.
well, the reason why I'm a journaler too. So I journal, and I've been journaling every day since the early 90s.
Wow.
Yeah, I have, and I generally don't miss.
Me either.
Yes.
My day is not right if I
Right,
miss.
exactly.
Yeah.
So that's interesting that we have that in common. Wow. Okay, so you started journaling. Okay, so once you've gotten through this journal process, so then how does that then make its way to MS Word?
So my writing is sporadic. I have a day job.
Okay.
And so mostly I write on the weekends. Sometimes I write in the mornings. And it's just, I write as long as I can.
Right.
And I tend to edit as I write, so I'll write it, and then I'll go back and edit.
Okay.
And Yeah.
But then some days maybe you don't. Some days maybe you just put it on paper and walk away.
Right.
Okay. Do you generally come up with a daily word count that you try to accomplish?
I tried that. I tried doing that nano thing that they do, the Writers November Challenge, where you write so many words a day.
Correct.
And it just doesn't work for me. Yeah, I just have to, I write until I can't write.
Right. Yes. No, and I understand. I hear you on that. Yeah, so for my personal self, I try to do about 200 words a day. So
That's good.
But it's just words. I mean, it's not like it's edited or anything. It's just 200 words, and hopefully half of that we can keep.
Now, do you plot or do you pants?
I plot.
Yeah, I write by the seat of my pants. Pretty much. I have a rough idea of where the story's going to go.
So do you create an outline first?
I have notebooks, and I'll create the characters. I have a character sheet for each character.
Correct.
And then I'll have notes in general what the plot's going to be. And it may take another turn while I'm writing. Who knows?
Right.
But yeah.
Yes, that is very true. It will take another turn that you did not expect.
Yeah.
That's true. That's a good point, because this never seems to go the way that it was outlined to go. That is very true. Well, let's talk about Charleston Conundrum. So what inspired you to write Charleston Conundrum, or kind of give me more of an introduction about it?
Well, the story is about private investigator Liz Adams and her loyal Labrador Retriever Duke, who can detect when people are lying.
Okay. So Duke can sniff this out.
Yep.
Okay.
And so originally, I thought it was going to be romantic suspense. And a couple of things about me. I started writing that story like 20 years ago.
Oh, did you really?
And picked it up, put it down. I don't have an English degree. I don't have a writing background. Mm-hmm. So I was approaching a big birthday, and I set a couple of goals. Mm-hmm. One was to take some writing classes. 2 was to join a writer's group.
Okay.
And then 3 was to enter some contests.
Okay. So how did you do on those 3 goals?
I did all 3. I joined what's now the League of Romance Writers.
Okay.
Which, romance is not my genre, but they have multiple genres.
Within that? Okay.
Yeah. And I entered 2 contests. The first one was through League of Romance Writers. It's called their Emily contest. And you submit your first 5,000 words, and they give you feedback by published authors. And so I entered the romantic suspense category.
Okay.
And the feedback I got is, this is not romantic suspense.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And so that's what helped me find my genre, cozy mystery.
Okay.
And then I entered another contest that was a national contest competing against 4 other authors, and we're friends to this day. Mm-hmm. And that forced me to finish the manuscript. Okay. And I came in second. Charleston Conundrum came in second. I lost by 1.5 points, which ended up being a total blessing in disguise, and that's how I ended up going the self-publishing route. Okay. So now since you said that, tell me your experience within the self-publishing route. What kind of comes to mind when you think of that? The favorite part of it for me is the collaboration. So I have my cover designer, who I love. Okay. She's awesome. I have editors that I use, my beta readers. Mm-hmm. And where'd you find? I feel like I'm hitting you with a bunch of questions. That's all right. So where do you find your reviewers and beta readers at? So some are through League of Romance Writers. Okay. They're authors. Some are friends and family. Okay. And they've been reliable? Very reliable. Okay. Yeah. Okay. In fact, my proofreader, originally I used, proofreaders that I found through various, but my proofreader now is my old college roommate. Oh, wow. Yeah.
Okay. And so was she always a reader? I'm assuming but was she always a reader?
Yes.
Okay.
And a teacher.
And a teacher.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Wow. Okay, I feel like I got off track on your questions. Okay, so
I probably took you off track.
well, you said the base, so you got your collaboration with your beta readers, your reviewer, your designer. Where'd you find your designer at?
So when I entered that second contest, we had to have a cover design, couple of covers for the judges to pick from.
Okay.
And I tried designing my own. It was a
Yeah,
disaster.
I'm with you. Yeah, that's not something we need to be. I agree with
yeah.
you. Yeah, unless you really have a knack for this, I think it's something we need to leave alone.
So I found her serendipity, just through a search on the web. And yeah, she's done all the books and she's amazing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. All righty.
Brandy Doan McCann is her name.
Brandy Dunn?
Doan. D-O-A-N-E. Yeah.
McCann. Interesting name. So your book is centered in Charleston, South Carolina. So of all the places in the world you could choose, why Charleston?
I love Charleston.
Okay. Did you grow up there?
No, I've been there twice. And the very first time I went, I fell in love with it.
Right.
And if you talk to anyone about Charleston, they're like, either I love it, I've been there,
Right.
or it's at the top of my list to go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, see, I feel that way about Santa Fe, New Mexico.
Santa Fe is nice, but it doesn't start with a C.
And I feel that way about Mexico City, Mexico. Yeah, I went to Mexico City and I was like, wow. Yeah, so it was nice. Okay, so Charleston, South Carolina. But have you spent a lot of time there in Charleston? So when you were doing it, you had to do a lot of research for Charleston?
I always do a lot of research. I do a lot of, I'll contact their tourist organization and get their tourist information.
Oh, will you really? Oh, you've done good. Wow, okay,
Yeah.
I never considered that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then, I'll try to also choose a beta reader that either is familiar
Correct.
with the location.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So
That makes sense. So, how long is your edit? How long generally for the? Because you've written now 4 books, 5 books.
I'm just completing number 5.
Okay, and we're going to talk about that.
Yeah.
Okay. So for these books, how long has it taken you to get through the editing process? How many months?
Ooh.
How many rounds of beta readers?
So I generally have 8 to 10 beta readers. And I would say the editing process from start to finish is at least 4 months.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's pretty efficient. Because calendar-wise, these beta readers can be rather busy.
Right.
And so getting on the calendar is difficult, which then calendar-wise kind of makes this a very long process, despite the fact they're not reading for 4 months. But it's just taken a while to get them going and then get something back. So, okay, interesting. Okay, so while you're getting it edited, you're having your design made, your book covers made while it's being, is that kind of like, it's not, what is it? Would it be sequential or but something running at the same time? You're kind of doing
Parallel,
it one at
yeah.
Parallel. So you're kind of doing it one at a time.
I do things different than a lot of people that most traditional authors do. So I start with the cover because
start with the cover.
I start with the cover. It motivates me. And then I don't do the whole cover reveal thing. I just put it out there.
Okay, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I for my personal self, I feel, to your point, I think I've had limited success some days with the whole kind of reveal and this and that. Yeah, so I'm kind of.
As a reader, I don't really, it doesn't. I just want to see the cover. Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting because I'm kind of in a place where I'm kind of doing the cover last. So that's interesting. I may have to kind of think about that. So your protagonist, Liz Adams, tell me about her.
So she, in the prologue, it talks about how she kind of went on the journey to become a private investigator. She went through a bitter divorce.
Okay.
And she was living in Atlanta, Georgia at the time, working for Coca-Cola. Okay. And then after the divorce, she cashed her stock options. She took the money from the house and moved to Charleston, South Carolina to pursue her dream of becoming a private investigator.
And at this point, she's always wanted to live in Charleston? Or was that just kind of a whim?
She went to visit Charleston while she was heartbroken after the divorce. Okay. And fell in love with the city.
Okay, so it was kind of like, okay, now that I'm divorced, I'm going back.
Fresh start.
Okay,
yeah.
Okay, fresh start. Does she have any quirks? Does she have any? What makes her special? Why do you like her?
Well, she's a bit of a fashionista like you.
Oh, is she?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay, yeah, that kind of makes you smile. Okay.
She loves her unsweet tea with a splash of sweet.
Unsweet with a splash of sweet.
Yep.
Okay, so sweet but not too sweet.
Right.
Okay, because you're right. Tea can get pretty sweet some days. Okay.
Her favorite perfume is Amazing Grace, which is a perfume by Philosophy. So I kind of have fun with the play on words. With that. She loves lobster.
She loves lobster.
Yeah.
Okay, so when she goes out to get something to eat, she's looking to see if lobster's on the menu.
Yep.
Okay, that's a new one. That's different.
Yeah.
Okay. So, did she always want to be a private investigator?
So she always wanted to go into law enforcement, and then
not necessarily a cop though, a police officer.
Right.
Okay.
Maybe a lawyer. And so anyway, when she actually talks to her old high school guidance counselor while she's going through, the pain of the divorce and trying to process everything. Mm-hmm. And that's how she ends up on that path.
Okay.
So.
Okay, interesting. So I guess in a lot of ways, because we're in Charleston, do you have to, I guess you still have to do a lot of world building.
Yes, and you have to be really careful that you don't world build things that aren't a part of that.
That is true.
So
that is true, because someone will call that out.
Yes.
Yeah. So you just can't randomly write something.
Right.
Yeah. That just is not true to Charleston. Yeah.
You can make up a restaurant that's not really there.
Exactly. Yeah, you can do that. But to your point, if it takes, I'm kind of making this up, but if it takes 35 minutes to drive from such and such and such, you can't say it takes 10 minutes. Yeah, you have to be accurate that, yes.
Or if there's a city ordinance that buildings can't be, a certain height,
right.
Like in Carmel by the Sea, you don't want to put a 6-story building in there.
Right, yeah. right. And that makes sense. Okay, so when you are kind of thinking of Charleston, what kind of details, what kind of thoughts around Charleston is really catching your attention that you really wanted to stand out?
Well, Charleston is known as a foodie town, so I definitely
is it really?
Yeah, I definitely wanted to capture,
and lobster too, at that, for what it's worth?
Okay. Of course.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, it's not really known for lobster, but there's definitely lobster in the book.
Okay.
And it's also just very charming. There are a lot of old churches around downtown.
Okay.
There are carriage rides that you can take to, sightsee the homes. There's Rainbow Row, which is on the cover of Charleston Conundrum. That's a famous site.
Rainbow Row.
Rainbow Row.
And they call it Rainbow Row because the buildings have all the different colors?
Yep.
Okay.
So.
Huh. Okay, something I did not know that existed. Okay. But I came across something. So are you incorporating sounds and smells and of Charleston? How does that come into play?
I wanted to touch on all the senses. The sights, the smell, the feel of when she's in the carriage, how that feels sitting in the carriage. The smells, Charleston's right by the water, so it gets pretty humid.
Okay.
And you can also smell the salt in the air.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I assume she's going out to the water, kind of. Yeah. She's taking advantage of the wonderful beach.
Yep.
Yes. I would expect so. So now you've added a companion, Duke. Okay. So I assume you are an animal person.
Yes, we have Labrador Retrievers.
Retrievers.
Well, we have one right now, but we've had Labrador Retrievers for years. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
How many have you? What's the most you had at one time?
Two.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we don't have to worry about 15 dogs running around.
No. It's tempting, though.
Okay. So, and you grew up being an animal person.
Yes.
Okay. So how does Duke come into play?
Well, when I entered the contest, the Emily with Legal Romance Writers, some of the feedback that I got was the dog just can't sit on the cover and look pretty. The dog has to have a job. And have you ever seen the documentary called Superpower Dogs? It's about search and rescue dogs.
Okay.
And, about how dogs have superpowers. So
Okay.
Duke's superpower is being able to detect when people are lying. So Liz takes Duke with her, and she'll question a suspect or a witness, and then he'll yip if someone lies.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But not attack.
No.
But I guess Labrador Retrievers, we don't have to worry about them attacking
No,
someone.
they're
Okay,
friendly,
right?
yeah.
They're too sweet for that.
Yeah.
And see, and I'm not an animal person. I don't know. I didn't grow up with animals, and so I know nothing about animals. Like how to approach an animal or what. So all this would be totally new for me.
Well, Duke is actually loosely based on our current Labrador Retriever, Eve,
Okay.
because she's a communicator. She'll actually come into our bedroom in the morning, howl the words "I love you" because she wants her breakfast.
Okay.
So
Okay.
yeah.
All righty. Okay then. So so Duke adds an element of so Liz, she looks down. She kind of looks to Duke to kind of give her some guidance on where to go and what to do. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Now, when you got that piece of advice, was it hard to incorporate? Because that's not where you originally were at when you first turned that story in. So was it hard to incorporate Duke's a role in this story?
It was hard initially to figure out what his superpower was going to be and how he was going to help. And then it just came to me. And after that, it wasn't hard at all.
Yeah, it wasn't hard.
Yeah.
Once you understood
Yeah.
where it could be. So now did you did that come up through journaling of Duke's role?
So it either came up with journaling, or sometimes I'll get ideas during the middle of the night.
That's true.
And I've learned to actually get up and write them down so I don't forget.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you can find, I totally agree with that. If you can find the energy to get up, you should get up. Yes, yes, that's very true. If you can find the energy to get up and go write it down, you should get up. But yeah, sometimes just kind of like, I'm just too tired to move.
I know.
Yeah, that just doesn't
and then you
happen.
regret it. It's like, what was that?
Because you can't remember what hit your brain. So this novel, Charleston Conundrum, you also have a connection to Paris?
Yes.
Okay, where's the connection there?
So one of her best friend's secrets was that she had a boyfriend in Paris that she never told Liz about.
Okay.
And so she goes there to interview the boyfriend. And I have been to Paris several times, and I love Paris.
I do too.
Yeah.
I do too. Yeah, I love Paris just as well. But considering the fact that you've been to Paris, did that require some extensive research in order to build that world when she goes there to find the old boyfriend?
Yes, it did, yeah. And one of the things that I do too, I don't know if you do this, but if I'm getting stuck, like describing something or picturing what it could look like, I'll go to Google Images and just scroll through and, yeah.
I read something once that said if you find yourself having writer's block, you haven't done enough research.
Ah, interesting.
Yes, exactly. That's
Yeah.
what I said. So that's interesting. So I do agree with that because I seem to be able to find my way through something when I go and simply research what I'm working on. But then there's also a point of knowing what question to ask. That's
Right.
that's another issue. It's like, okay, well, where do I start in terms of researching this? But you're right. If you just kind of pick at it, the question kind of forms itself then. Especially when you look at Chat GPT, it kind of,
Right.
if you can kind of if you can figure out how to be specific, then it kind of fixes itself. Okay, so she goes to Paris, finds out what she needs, and she comes on back. Any other supporting characters that really stand out?
The neighbors. So she lives in a townhome community,
Okay.
and that's where her best friend that died
Okay.
lives. And all the neighbors are very supportive.
Are they nosy?
There is one very nosy neighbor, of course. There always
'Cause
has to be that nosy
because
neighbor.
they sound kind of nosy to me right
Yeah.
now. Yeah.
But fun fact, we had some neighbors. They've since moved to North Carolina, Tony and Linda.
Okay.
And Linda was like, I want to be in the book.
Oh, really?
So they're neighbors, Tony and Linda.
Okay.
And they're actually based on
They're okay.
real people.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, so some of this is based on some real life experiences. Then, yeah,
Yes,
exactly.
of course,
You and
yeah.
your husband's relationship with Tony and Linda. Okay,
Yeah. Yep.
okay. Any other supporting characters? You got Duke. You got is the and Peg is who's Peg again?
Peg's the best friend
Peg's the best friend who
who died.
died or murdered rather. Okay. Anybody else standing out who is helping Liz get through this?
So she has a love interest that shows up.
So okay,
Yeah.
okay.
And
Okay.
so a lot of these characters continue on through the series, and Brad definitely continues on her love interest.
So we start with Charleston Conundrum, and then we go where?
Then we go to Carmel by the Sea, so Carmel Conundrum,
Carmel as in where?
California.
California.
Yeah.
Wow.
So you know where Pebble Beach is?
Well,
Kind of,
I guess
yeah.
I feel like I do. Okay. Yeah.
So south of there. So
Okay.
This is the cover for Carmel, and the cypress tree on the front is iconic to that area.
Okay. So anybody from that area would know that cypress tree.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that was actually my husband's inspiration, the cypress tree.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. So she makes her way to Carmel. Is there anything specific driving her there? Or is she following? Is she following the leads?
That's where Brad is from.
That is where Brad. Oh, I should have known.
Brad and Liz, or Brad and Peg, were good friends from high school.
Okay.
So he ends up coming for her funeral. That's how they know each other a little bit, but then they get a lot more interested in each other. And he invites her to come to Carmel, and that's how she gets there.
Okay. So do I need to read? And okay, how am I trying to ask my question? Does Charleston, it ends, or it really, do we get the killer at the end? All right. So then this is just her next case she's solving.
Yes.
Okay.
Each
That's what I'm trying to
book-
get to.
Each book stands on its own.
Okay.
The only one that is probably not going to, so after A Camping Conundrum, which is the one I'm working on right now, Colorado Conundrum is next, and it's probably good to read Carmel before Colorado.
Okay. So I did not pick up, even though you said earlier, that doesn't start with a C. So, okay. So I did not see this pattern until now. Okay. Okay. So we have Charleston, we have Carmel, and then which one is next?
A Christmas Conundrum.
A Christmas Conundrum.
So that one's a novella. So it's short. It's you can see it's thin.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's about Charleston at Christmas. And decorations that are getting stolen.
Okay. So now is she working multiple cases at this point?
Each case gets solved by the end of the book.
Okay.
So, but sometimes she's
sometimes,
working
yes.
more than
So
one
she's
case.
busy.
Yeah, she's busy.
Right. She's
Yeah.
not sitting
Yeah.
around waiting for someone to get murdered. Yeah.
Yeah.
She's busy. Okay. This is interesting. So, what do you think would be the most rewarding bit that the reader can take away? Or what are the most, or could be, what are some of the most rewarding responses you've even gotten from reviews? Yeah, that's two separate questions. But yes, let's start. What do you think readers walk away with?
My hope is that they walk away with just a fun story that's, entertaining and had them guessing to the end, had them turning the pages to read what happens next.
So what are some of your favorite reviews that you've gotten?
I love the reviews where the person totally got the story. And I don't know how to better phrase that. Just they fell in love with Duke, the dog. Mm-hmm. They understood the relationship between Liz and her beloved lab. Mm-hmm. And yeah, when they just really got the story.
And when we say got the story, does that also mean the themes resonated with?
Yes.
So what are some of the themes?
So one of the things that I have in some of the stories is about homeless people and or homeless pets.
Oh, wow.
And I also donate a portion of the proceeds to causes that help homeless people or homeless pets. And our current lab, she's actually our first rescue, but we adopted her from Texas Sporting Breed Rescue.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Wow. Okay. So now you're into your fourth book. You finished your fourth book. You're into your fifth book, which is titled
A Camping Conundrum.
And it will be out when?
End of April, early May.
Okay. And so, which I'm really very impressed with. I like the fact that you're hanging in there and you're showing up every day. But how do you keep that energy going?
Sometimes it's hard.
Sometimes that's hard.
Yeah.
I appreciate your honesty.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's hard. Totally agree.
You sit there and there's no sales, no reviews. It's like, is anybody reading these stories?
That's true. That is true. Sometimes it's difficult.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden a review will pop up.
Correct.
And those are motivating, but I've learned that I can't go there for my sustenance. It's got to be the story. It's got to be the story.
That is so true. I totally agree with that in the sense that I think for me, where a lot of my books may have kind of a social justice component to it, or a moment where I really am trying to humanize a underserved or less privileged individual,
Right.
I totally agree with you that being able to humanize that person is what sustains me. I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
It is not the sales of it. It is the effort to find a creative way to humanize that person for me is what sustains me. So yes, I totally agree. I can definitely see your point. When there's questions asked, well, how do you sustain this? How do you keep it going? Well, you're right. That's what keeps us going. Totally agree. So, can you think of one thing that the readers may get they never thought they would get from it, from your novels?
That's a hard question.
That's a hard question. I think for me, when I think of that question, I think the readers would not get such honesty. I think some days I'm writing something that is really honest.
Yes. Yeah.
And then maybe sometimes I kind of say, I don't know if I should be that honest.
Oh, that's definitely true of your books. Yeah.
Yes. And so,
And it is good.
well, you kind of wonder some days. So in answering that question, my answer would be some days I think readers are surprised the amount of honesty they got. So does that help?
Mine are more lighthearted.
Right.
Other than murder and even, though it's murder, it's a cozy mystery, so it's not graphic or violent or anything like that. I do include recipes and a playlist. And
now, you like to cook?
I used to not like to cook at all, but as I've gotten, and I started doing some of those meal kits. I know you're a cook, right?
I am.
Yeah.
I am.
And then I started really liking to cook and found it relaxing.
That's true.
And experimenting with different ingredients.
Correct.
And yeah, it's creative.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Stacy, where can readers find you?
I'm on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, IndieBound, Google Play. My novellas, the ebooks are just on Kindle Unlimited.
Okay.
I didn't go wide, which means, making it available across all platforms.
Right.
And A Camping Conundrum is another novella.
And so your website and social media handles are?
www.storystacy.com. Oh, boy. Memory test. Instagram is author Wilder Stacy or Stacy Wilder.
Yeah, I think it's Stacy.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think it's author Stacy Wilder.
And if you just Google Stacy Wilder,
Exactly, it will come up.
Yeah.
Well, I want to tell you thank you for coming in, sitting with me today. It really is interesting to hear another writer's perspective on all of this, especially when you look at how challenging this can be sometimes.
Yes.
And what we have to do as artists to sustain ourselves and, keep showing up and keep trying to do our best with the idea that it will resonate with someone at some point. So I want to tell you thank you for coming in, sitting with me today.
Thank you for having me. It's been fantastic to see you, and we don't need to wait another 3 years.
I totally agree. Yeah. So, yes, I am Douglas Bell, and I want to say thank you for watching another episode of Ringing the Bell. And you can find me at www.douglasbellbooks.com. And my Instagram handle, Facebook, and YouTube is at Douglas Bell Author. Thank you. Don't forget to like and subscribe and to share with others. If this conversation spoke to you, don't keep it to yourself. Drop a comment below and let us know your favorite part of the interview, or share what poetry means to you. Hey, and if it inspired you, hit the like button and share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Let's keep the power of words alive by spreading these stories far and wide. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notifications so you'll never miss a beat.